Against flock cameras. Before I begin, I would just like to acknowledge I understand the reason why companies such as Flock would be appealing to the community at first. They can serve as a very useful tool, the ability to monitor traffic remotely 24/7, which on paper gives police the capability of catching crimes more easily, such as stolen vehicles, the ability to track fleeing vehicles or fleeing criminals, and much more. However, in practice, we see time and time again these cameras' algorithms identifying license plates incorrectly. For example, viewing the number 5 as the letter S and vice versa. We also see these cameras being misused, such as the case in Kansas City last year, where a police officer tracked his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend over 200 times using these very cameras, forcing the officer to resign when the news came out, which raises the question of how our own community handles this problem of sensitive data being in the hands of officers, data that can very easily expose people even when the police don't have bad intentions. However, on top of all of these already deeply concerning issues lies an even deeper and more threatening issue. These cameras are incredibly vulnerable, which is what I want to focus on today. As of July 12th, 2026, when I wrote this, there are many unpatched exploits that have the potential to give anyone complete and total remote access to one of these cameras. To make everyone well aware of how easy these cameras are to hack, I will right now summarize CVE 2025-59407, exploit found in October of 2025, which I just want to point out that was 9 months ago, and this exploit is still possible on these cameras. So this has been 9 months that people have been able to do this. In the Flock Safety Detection Processing Android application, specifically version 6.35.33, there's a Java key store with its password directly in the application code. The key store, named flock_rye.bks, contains a private key that is exposed due to the hard-coded credentials. An attacker could potentially access the private key store stored in the key store and compromise the confidentiality and integrity of the device, potentially gaining unauthorized access to Falcon and Sparrow license plate readers, which I do want to emphasize we use these cameras, the Falcon cameras, giving them the ability to execute remote code and even exploit the vulnerability across network connections with no physical user interaction with the camera required. While multiple proof of concept exploits are available on GainsTech.com, there's thankfully no evidence that anyone has used this exploit in the wild on any cameras. However, given there are many more exploits like this that allow people to access these cameras, given there are many exploits like this in the community of people consistently finding more exploits against these cameras weekly, it's clear that these cameras pose a severe and constant threat to any community that uses them. Mass surveillance is already an incredibly touchy subject, but to even have these cameras in our community to begin with, given their horrible track record of safety, is outright dangerous. Anyone with a laptop and even the tiniest knowledge of computer scripting could gain access to our entire Flock network in minutes, and the sensitive data that's tracking every single person in our city can be had by any criminal without us even knowing. The danger these cameras pose to our community cannot be understated, and having them in our communities in the first place feels very irresponsible. I want us to be able to make a change before things get worse, before someone does go out of their way to exploit one of the many vulnerabilities these cameras have. I want this to be a learning experience for everyone to put more thought and effort into systems like these before jumping headfirst into an unsafe and unjust mass surveillance system that prioritizes profit over the safety of communities and individuals. I want to end my speech with one last question. If the community knew about the issues with these cameras, would they still want them to be put out in our community? Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
But I can keep it short and sweet. Those who give up the essential liberties to purchase a little safety deserve neither liberty or safety. And if you guys know who founded this country and who helped, it was Benjamin Franklin. He said that. And these companies like Flock, they might have some contract with you guys to help you in safety. And yes, they got pros, they got cons. But these companies sell our data to other companies for marketing, advertising, and even worse things that could hurt or potentially hurt our children in the future. Please don't use flock. I gotta go.
You still drive us, guys?
No, I don't have to.
His Ben Franklin quote is misrepresentative. Because I've seen this a lot with the flock stuff, and it has to do with the Penn family and the French and Indian War. What they were wanting the Penn family to do is pay for part of the French and Indian War. So this doesn't have to do with government surveillance or stuff like that. I just wanted to note that I've seen this quote quite a bit in my research over the weekend, and it's widely misquoted. So just want to throw that for 2 cents.
All right, anybody else like to speak tonight? Please state your name and your address, please.
Yes. Good evening, Council. Mayor Russell. Or Mayor Kessler, sorry. My name is Daniel Rosendale. I live at 350 Hillcrest. I want to first say thank you to Mayor Kessler and the Council for your time and consideration on what brings me here this evening. My name is Daniel Rosendale. I currently live in Ward 1 of Haysville and have grown up and lived in Haysville the majority of my life. I work within the cybersecurity field for my career, and I spend my off time volunteering with OzSec, a Wichita-based cybersecurity conference, and DEFCON 316, a local cybersecurity group. I come before you tonight to speak on the issue of the automated license plate readers, or ALPR, and the impact they have on the privacy of residents of Haysville. What began as research based on my own curiosity as to what ALPRs were exactly, and to better understand them for myself, has expanded into research on the various cybersecurity and privacy concerns that I have now read about regarding ALPRs. More specifically, the Flock branded cameras, of which Haysville has 8 currently. While there are many facets to this argument, tonight I want to focus on the issue of the infringement on the rights of citizens granted by the Fourth Amendment. Regarding the violations of the Fourth Amendment, in Carpenter v. United States 2018, the Supreme Court explicitly rejected the argument that venturing into the public eliminates Fourth Amendment protection. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the government's access to cell site location data and by tracking movements on public roads achieved near perfect surveillance, as if it had attached an ankle monitor to the phone's user. While yes, this case was primarily regarding cellular data and GPS tracking, the opinion sets a precedent that could be used in the future against ALPRs as well. Furthermore, in 2020, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court held in Commonwealth v. McCarthy that with enough cameras in enough locations, the historic location data from an ALPR system in Massachusetts would invade a reasonable expectation of privacy and would constitute a search for the constitutional purposes. In short, they felt that it would be enough to require law enforcement in Massachusetts to be required to obtain a search warrant to obtain that information. Additionally, legal scholars have cited that between the years 2016 and 2017, that of the 2.5 billion license plates that were scanned, 99.5% of those belong to vehicles unassociated with criminal activity, resembling more of a dragnet approach to surveillance rather than targeted methods of traditional policing. As of June 29, 2026, in Shattery v. United States, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that geofence warrants, which instruct tech companies like Google to provide location data for all cell phone users near a specific area during a given time frame, constitutes a search under the Fourth Amendment, meaning they are now required to get an actual warrant before that data can be collected, further clamping down on the use of dragnet-style searches. This currently does not apply to flock-obtained data. Some cases to outline what's going on. Joel Fetter, an automotive journalist, was test driving a Range Rover for an article with his wife when he was boxed in by officers and held at gunpoint while the issue could be sorted out. When Fetter got Jaguar Land Rover on the phone, the automaker said that the reported plate number was 3403 DTM, not 3410 DTM. On New Jersey plates, the middle number is written smaller than the others, and thus the flock cameras recorded 34 DTM. When the system picked up on his plate, it started causing alarm in the police. In another case, on September 27, 2025, Columbine Valley Police Sergeant Jamie Milliman came to Chrisana Elser's door and issued her a summons to appear in court, accusing her of stealing a $25 package in the town of Beaumar. The officer told her he had doorbell video of the theft and that he had tracked her car in the area using the flock cameras. He had it locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure, Sergeant Milliman told Elser. The only problem, Chrisana wasn't there. And she had evidence to prove it. She gathered dash cam footage from her car, Google Maps location logs, and doorbell video showing her walking into her tailor's house at the time the package was stolen. Sergeant Milliman kept telling her that any evidence she had wasn't worth reporting to Elser. Several weeks later, Elser was able to finally get in touch with the Columbine Valley Police Chief, Brett Cottrell, who reviewed her evidence and ultimately voided the summons. Elser arguing that she should never have had to provide that evidence and gather that evidence by herself. In closing, I would welcome more time at a later date to speak with the council, either as a whole or individually, on this matter, and would desire to share more information during those meetings. I again want to thank you, Mayor Kessler, and the council members for your time and consideration of this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Christian?
Hey, I appreciate you coming. I know me and you talked quite a bit. If you ever want to reach out, and we can go for a cup of coffee or something and talk more about this, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Myers?
I just want to point out that the live stream is not working. We are not live.
How convenient.
Well, the live stream is not working, I'll get it recorded. No deal. All right, any other members of the public would like to speak tonight? This is your chance. We do not have a public hearing later. So. All right, we will move on to item 2, approval of license